form. This is something I created. I Google searched images, danger or alert. I can't remember, safety alert maybe. And I built this. It's red. It's got the word danger. It's got safety alert. You know, I'm trying to, that's kind of the language you're supposed to use in the coloring and stuff. I had said, okay, on Thursday afternoon, maintenance tech observed this contractor working above the railing of a scissor lift while at height. Same fall hazard issue was observed prior to this date and discussed with the contractor as per OSHA standards. And I went and found probably the definitive safety OSHA safety bulletin from OSHA on scissor lifts, and I copied and pasted from that PDF what's here. Then I said, this type of behavior cannot be tolerated. I'm kind of stressing it. If he falls, I'm not even worried about his safety. It's if he hurts our employees or our equipment, that's bad. I did think that some sort of reprimand was warranted. And if observed again, they should be removed from the site. That was my recommendation. And what the resolution should be. And then I provided my reference. So I sent this out right away in the morning to all the managers, and we talked about it in a meeting. A person reached out and talked to the person in the office who, the person who works for this company, sent an apology, said it'll never happen again. And I just want them to know, but what they had said is, oh, he should have been tied off. Tied off to what? I can't get any resolution as far as whether this type of scissor lift has the minimum required 5,000-pound anchor point. I don't think it does. So if he just hooks up to the railing and falls, he would likely pull the thing over with him. So that's something that I did the other day. And this also aligns with, which was interesting, is Brad Giles had just presented on professional ethics the night before. Cowboy ethics is the term for his presentation or the title. And he had said, you got to stand up for what's right. So that's what I did. Yeah. And now everybody's on notification to watch out for these guys in the orange shirts if they're going to be grabbing the scissor lift. So we're at current, nobody fell, nobody got hurt, nothing was broken, but we got to prevent that from ever happening again. So that's something that I did. I've got some other things going on too. I keep narrowing in on getting the safety incident reporting system on phones and updating the fields and the response categories and they call it how it's going to, what the workflow is, who it's going to go to, what it's going to look like. We're inching closer and closer that we should have a release, I hope, within the next 2 weeks. Mid-March was my overall goal. Another thing that I've done is I'm going to be coming out with weekly updates and blasts. This is the one that I had put out this week. If you see something, say something, ask questions and report concerns. Safety is everyone's responsibility. And I put this stuff over here just to be visually pleasing. I'd gone a couple weeks where people really weren't reporting things to me. I posted this on the 20th. And the number of people coming to me with questions and sending me things, I think I got about between 5 to 10 this week just by having this out. So I'm going to keep enforcing people to report things. It went really well. So that was another thing I had done. I'll give you updates on other things I'm working on, such as the survey instrument I hope to roll out, and the first meeting I have with the safety team, and meeting I'm having with the new site coordinator at Poinet, former grad of mine, or student of mine rather. So I'll be working on that too. So I'll talk about that later in the week. All right, back to the show here. First, what I want to do is kind of just go down the list, okay? This is to help you make a better case study. First, you got to start out with some references, some resources. And I think that OSHA's recommended practices for safety and health programs is a great place to start. They've got elements, a guide, tools, case studies, resources, things like that. And I refer to this document, and I'm going to be referring to it in a presentation I'm going to show you here in a little bit. Of some consulting work I had done a few years ago. But this is a great place to start. You can reference this material when you're trying to educate management and putting them in the right scope and context for what you're trying to do. The next is the OSHA Technical Manual. I refer to this, studies from NIOSH, studies from CDC when I do my work. And that's really come in handy because the head of HR had reached out to me this last week, and she said, I got to put together this response or this wording for people who are working in what we call the pleaters area, because there's fiberglass that's airborne, and it's really low levels. And so I was able to review 2 different industrial hygiene reports and gave her the resources so that she could actually reference what the scientists are saying about it. Without me, they would have been just guessing and maybe Googling. But the OSHA Technical Manual is a great resource. If you're going to be using the prevention of OSHA citations or in some form of the justification or methods, you really need to work out what the citation amount would be and not just guess it. And by using the Field Operations Manual, which I have here, there's a chapter in here that will take you step by step on how penalties are determined. Let's see, where is it? Violations? Is that where it is? I think that's right. Yes, I think it's chapter 4 of violations. Maybe not. There should be a penalty. Case preparation. Penalties. Okay, it's chapter 6. My bad. So this is where it takes you step by step on how to figure that stuff out. OSHA also has a business case for safety and health. I'm not a big fan of it. I could have brought up some other things from the National Safety Council, but they do it from a more of an aggregate, a very high level. Use this for what it's worth, but please don't use OSHA Pays. I don't like OSHA Pays. I think it's too bloated. But I would recommend you use the Department of Workforce Development. Now, all this stuff is on the site. These are all the links, okay? The most recent is 2020. Even these numbers are a little bit high, but at least it's closer to home, and you can see how much certain types of injuries cost if you're trying to prevent an injury. That's part of the project. The next is, hold on. Okay, so now that was getting into the business case. So what I'd like to do is just kind of back it up a second and show you some of the work that I had done. Oh my gosh, this is just crazy in this house. Sorry, everybody. It's always when I hit record does everything go kind of nuts. All right, so here's a case study, or I was asked to come into this place and do a mock OSHA audit. So it's very simple. You always do these to try to narrow to the case studies you'd work on. So here's a summary. Again, this is the presentation I gave to management based on my work back in 2018. Geez, that was 5 years ago. I had 15 violations resulting in 13 citations. Here's the breakdown. Here's the gravity-based penalty. Here's the adjusted penalty. So about 26 grand. And the abatement dates were between 1 to 4 months. So I started out positive. I tried to on what they have, but realized, I'm kind of setting them up for what I'm about to talk about. I review their written policies. That's the first thing OSHA does. And there wasn't much of anything to be had. I don't even know if I cited it, though. I'm not sure if I did program citations or not now. I'll have to look back at that. Maybe I skipped over that. Here's more of the review and some of the language here. That when you say you're going to do a certain thing, you better have the documentation for it. Here's my methods section. I did a visual audit. I used the manual. I used a spreadsheet to do my calculations. And of course, I looked at a lot of photos. 55 total were taken. Hold on a second. Yeah, so my first one had to do with machine guarding. They had an upcut or whirlwind saw. I see those from time to time in carpentry type operations. They need to be guarded because a blade comes up. I do have a video of it coming up, and it needs special guarding. It doesn't come with the old ones. We had a industrial robot called the clamper, and you see here, person uses a stick to hit the buttons. This system has to come up closer. You can't expect that. Oh, and I didn't provide it this week. Later in the week I will. I've been finding implements throughout the workplace I'm at, like poles and sticks and things with duct tape on it, and that needs to be. It's interesting to see what workers are using it for. It was loud, it was noisy, and so actually my students and I conducted full shift sampling for noise for them and saved them quite a bit of money, and then made recommendations based on those outcomes. They did have a lot of wood dust accumulated, and so a cleaning is recommended. Compressed air used for cleaning, that's always an issue. It wasn't down below the 30 psi. Oh, interesting that I cited this because I required my company that that I'm working at now to buy 2 of these. And actually, we've got a bunch of these too, but they're not wall mounted. They're on their own, I don't want to call it a cart, but it's kind of like a stand. Yeah, a stand. Yep. And I'm just about ready to remove all of the bottles that are out there because a water bottle doesn't really count as eye wash. It doesn't meet the basic requirements. We had some anchoring issues, pretty easy to fix. They were not doing a good job with personal hygiene and sanitation. But it's interesting that where I'm at now, I haven't dealt with that concern just yet, even though I know it is. You're supposed to do JHAs for PPE determination. They hadn't done that. I believe I had students do that as part of a project for that class. Fortunately, at my workplace, they've already done it, and I've got the documentation. I thought I was going to have to redo it. They don't have any written programs, and so I advised them on what that would look like. What they would need. It starts, of course, with HAZCOM, starts out with a, what do you call that? An inventory of the hazardous materials. I'm efforting that right now, and I'm waiting for MSC to get me a HAZCOM station so I can update all of my bottles and containers. They have an issue with lacerations, but they don't have any sort of first aid type program. And they should. They couldn't provide me any driver training certification for forklifts, so I cited that. Oh, I did cite the record keeping. Oh, good on me for doing the right thing, right? They had an overhead space they had built. You got to have a rating for it. Something I got to do at my workplace too. And then here's the summary of the citations. Because, this was a mock OSHA audit, so therefore what I was doing is giving them this along with the gravity-based assessment. This is from 5 years ago. Obviously, every year the amount has gone up. I don't know if you knew that. Severity, probability, gravity-based penalty, history, good faith, quick fix, and then size reduction. Here's the adjusted penalty. Here's the assigned abatement. And how did I do this? Well, here's how I did it. I bring over my Excel. So here's my master list. And I've got some other stuff here too. So I used Excel to kind of go through and track and assign things based on what, basically what's stated in the OSHA, what do you call it? The Field Operations Manual. Field Operations Manual. That's what I used. And I created this. So that's what I summarized here in this table. And then the next is the recommendations on what they need to do. So my students and I came in to do full shift sampling. I thought we did the JHA. I know we did something for the clamper as well. I'm not sure if we actually did the full assessment for hazardous materials. We did some of it, I think. But asked them to create a plan or a checklist based on that. And then I thanked them for their time. In addition to that, one thing we're talking about this week is coming up with justification for investment. And so I created this sheet here. It's something that I've been wanting to do in this class for a while, is assign the students one particular type of work comp or injury claim, like a cause, and then have them do a deep dive like this to come up with dollar values. And so I gave a wide range. So this is based on, this old report from DWD. I just showed you that it's 2020 now. It's the most recent. These were the number of claims, total indemnity, average per claim. A strain injury or continual noise had a little bit different numbers, but kind of in the neighborhood. I found something from a law office that kind of explains the compensation, how much it costs. I looked at the Department of Workforce Development, actual state laws or rules on loss of hearing, so they can see what that is. And then came down to another thing. So this is if it's a permanent partial and what kind of money the employee would be rewarded. And then I came down to the cost of things and how it breaks down. Okay? So I did that just for the hearing. I gave that. And so what they did is I recommended that they get noise reduction rated. I recommended that they got earmuffs. Earmuffs, that's not what it is. Muff hearing protection that had noise canceling technologies that could be Bluetooth to their phone so they can still listen to music, but at a much lower level. And when I provided several different models that I felt would be the minimum, 25 dB noise reduction rating, they bought them. They bought them for the workers, just based on my recommendation and that sheet I just showed you. So that was pretty cool. So that's these things right here. So you have access to kind of look at the PowerPoint I just showed you, the Excel sheet that I showed you with my citation management, and then the sheet I just created or just showed you on the hearing loss costs. So let's move on to, so I did the business case. He said, take it with a grain of salt. There are better resources out there, such as, DWD. So I used the 2015 because that's all that was available when I did that report. Now you've got 2020. If you were to click on it, you'd see the average cost of things of different types. They break it out pretty well. From the CDC, they have this project, program cost analysis, cost of illness, cost effectiveness, cost benefit. I haven't used all these resources yet, but for you, this is great. Definitely everything I'm providing you here, make note of it, save it for the work you're going to be doing in your part-time jobs, case studies, whatever you do. This is a good resource. Then there's an article I want you to read. I believe this is from BLR, Bureau of Labor Relations. Isn't that what it stands for? BLR? Business and Legal Reports. Boy, I was way off. This is from 2006, though. So this also talks about, read the executive summary, but it talks about other aspects of bringing in value when you're evaluating something. ROI of the HS. This is what the topic is. I want to know what you're getting out of this. The next one is international from the European agency. It's for cost-effective interventions in small, medium-sized enterprises because they're the ones who probably need to show more value to management because they have limited money to put in. I've been very fortunate with all my recommendations. Everything has just been boom, take it. They buy the stuff I need. Off I go. As I continue on, I'm going to have to ask for greater amounts of money to accomplish what I need. And in those cases, I'm going to have to show the ROI on it. But I'm doing my due diligence now. I mean, I understand the work comp. So this is good stuff. Kind of take a look at these things. They do a review of case studies. You can kind of see what that review says. Here we go. And what they did. Okay? Good stuff. Next is we have a couple good examples here. You don't have to review these for the assignment, but I want you to take a look at them. So in 2016, a student, one of their case studies was a plant-wide noise exposure assessment. Here's their executive summary, the justification, the objectives and methods. I hope that's the executive summary, is it not? Oh, dang it. He didn't do an executive summary. All right, so we would have slammed it. Oh, I thought he did. I thought this guy did a good job, but maybe this was pre when we really expected it. But anyway, he did a really good job of really explaining what he was planning to do. These are in-house numbers on costs. So it's definitely a loud place. Methods could have been better laid out. He actually has results here on the TWA, estimated exposure, everything here. Thought he did a really good job. Talks about where he did the sampling, what his recommendations are. He actually broke down by each area that he was working on and what he was, recommendations for what to do to reduce the noise. And then I think his cost benefit's pretty good. I mean, it's not outrageous to think it would cost this much, but then the solutions are very reasonable. There is a savings. He gives references and notes, which I think is great. Because if you're going to give a number, you got to say where it came from. And he talks about it down here. He's got his references. He's got a whole layout of the plant and pictures. And I think this was a good job. I think he did a good job. Except for the executive summary missing. Would have been nice if he had that. This is from last summer. So they did do the executive summary because it's more recent. We've been really pushing for it. There's another student I had worked with. Intro methods. This is just for executive summary. He's citing and referencing things. Breakdown of the analysis and discussion. And then this is longer. This is 28 pages. So he provides a lot of great background of, providing context, scope, justification. His methods are written out instead of bulleted. And then he comes up with, here's the inventory that they have. Here's some of the issues he found in the field. More issues from the field. More issues from the field. And then he summarizes his results and he makes some recommendations on what they could do. He gives options. It's not just one, but he gives several options. So management can decide what to do. But of course, the language he puts this in can help, what would you call it? Influence what management should do. And I thought that Grant did a fantastic job. There were pictures, lots of references, well written. Great job by him. So back to here. So we just finished this. So, then I've got this PowerPoint. Just take a look at it. This is something I'm kind of starting so I can provide input for future capstone internships. But you can take a look at that. You don't have to do anything with it. The FYIs, again, never really have to review the FYIs. Just take a look. And then we got the case studies. So I've got 2 of them here. Same machine. This is pretty basic, though. This shouldn't take you long. So this is a rotating shaft, and we have 2 protruding screws. I want to know, does this have to be guarded? And if it does, what kind of guard is needed? And what sort of budget can we put towards it? What's the cost of someone getting caught, either a finger or hair or clothing, and would wrap around here? What's the potential for it? I want to know what you guys come up with. I'm sorry, I'm just going to show you the photos. If I try to play the videos that I took, could screw things up real quick. Sorry about that. I should have had that prepared. All right, here we go. So we're back. So I've got a video of it working so you can kind of see it. And I think I actually put my hand on it so you can see how it's moving. And okay, there was a guarded shaft, so you can kind of see what we use in a different part of the plant on a newer line. And then we've got this other one. So same machine, but this is the beginning of it. This is where we feed in the material. I've got a video of it. So this shaft here, right here, it looks like it has a little bit of flexibility vertically, but in the video I provide to you, that one doesn't. And is this a pinch point? And does it have to be guarded in some way to keep people's fingers from being pulled in and crushed? Whereas if it has this vertical thing, if it can go up and down and allow a hand to get in and then lift up and pull out, that's a better way to do it. Okay, so I want you to research those. Let me know what you find. If it needs to be guarded, what's the standard you're referring to? What would be required? Approximately how much would that might cost? Or how much would the injury cost? So yeah, that's basically it for this week. So a lot of searching on your own and thinking about this stuff. I'll provide the second video later this week with additional information and additional insight. In the meantime, though, you can watch these videos on a rotating shaft with a protruding end and a feeder roller without any sort of guarding. Now, it's not a mechanical roller, so it wouldn't automatically pull you in, but because of the feeder roll itself, it could possibly, it could pull someone's hand in. And so therefore, what's a good solution for that? That's all I got. I look forward to talking to you all this week because I do want to meet with you this week. If you have any questions, always reach out to me. Otherwise, have a great week, everybody.